Hi, hey, hello. If you're new here, my name is Rain. If you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you stopping on by to my little corner of the internet. And in today's video, if you hear my chickens, it's because my window's open and it is too hot to close it. but today I'm doing a kind of sketchbook reset. I'm just kind of goofing around with some paint pens, sketching my OC, and trying to get out of my head artistically and kind of mentally refresh, if that makes sense. And so, if you draw along with me, I would love to see it. Tag me, tell me about it in the comments if you're interested, or share it with me over private messages on Instagram, because that's the only place I exist. I don't know, can you send pictures over Tumblr? I guess I'm on Tumblr, but if you want to draw along with me and share it with me, I would love to see it. I'm always happy to see what my little corner of the internet gets up to. If you have any thoughts and opinions along the way, feel free to comment. If you want to see more of my content and you end up liking this, subscribe along the way throughout the mission of sitting through this beast today. But with that being said, let's get into all of the fun things. This week was my first kind of full week back at work and my master's program, so I definitely I wasn't just feeling quite right, if that makes sense. I was very in my head about art. I was very in my head about kind of my scheduling. I was kind of easily overwhelmed because I went from working 0 hours to working like 18 hours to now working 36-ish paid hours. Um, and while not a lot, I'm also in my master's program, and so I just kind of got kind of a little overwhelmed this week. I wasn't feeling as like artistically inclined in terms of like actually doing things in my sketchbook. I've been doing a lot of gestures, a lot of like hands and feet practice on line of action. I've done quite a few sheets of just basic gesture drawings and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I've been doing to keep up with myself and ensure that I am doing a little bit of my artistic self-care time, but I've been a little bit just overwhelmed. And so it was pretty late in the evening, and I just felt, okay, I'm going to, no consequences, sketch something up and color it until I feel like it's complete. Doesn't matter if it looks awful, it doesn't matter how I feel about it. I'm just going to take the time to sit down and be creative and get out of my head about it, right? Because I feel like when I'm stressed, I care more about the actual product of my art. Like, I get a little bit in my head about the quality. Is it good? Is it bad? And so the next step in that process is to say it literally doesn't matter. This is a sketchbook. No one cares if it looks good. And just commit to doing something, anything, no matter how bad it might be, good it might be. I did a little like scrapbooky page earlier in the week to try and do something and kind of get myself back in the habit of going to my sketchbook, even if I'm not feeling super creative. If I want to draw, I draw. And I feel like there's a distinction between wanting to draw and actually feeling creative in the moment and feeling like you can produce good work, right? Like sometimes you have the inclination, but you're just not, it's not your day and you're not kind of there artistically. And that's kind of how I've been feeling all week. So I did a scrapbook page earlier in my sketchbook and it was just plant themed. I did a little doodle and it just didn't get me into the flow of things like I had hoped. And so my next best bet was to kind of just draw my OC, play around with her as a character, and hope that maybe I could feel a little bit more inspired. This is my favorite OC to sketch when I'm just not where I need to be artistically. She's got the best, not the best design, but her design is the most fun of my character designs, and she's kind of my go-to. If I don't know what to draw, I usually draw Eris because they got those big floppy ears, they have the fun red streak in their hair, the red under eyes and the cute little like bow tie thing and sweater vest over a puffy button up. It's very much the type of style of clothing that I very much like to see, to draw. Whenever I'm downloading or saving art clothing references, I feel like I always fall into that kind of dark academia or kind of classic quote unquote nerd style. I just really, really like it. I think it's really cute and it suits their character a lot. And so, I don't know, I just feel really excited every time I go to draw them as a character, and I was hoping it would make me feel a little bit more inclined. However, I have really bad lighting in my house, especially where I create, actually. I don't have any overhead lighting, just a lamp. So I did pull out this goofy um, yellow light thing, and it becomes a white light later, so early in the morning you can't see in my room that I work in, and then late at night it's like zero visibility. The yellow light doesn't even really help. So it is kind of goofy lighting this week. I just wasn't able to get creative during the day when light is streaming through my window, so that's fine. So this is a late night sketchbook reset and early, early morning before I start my work day or my academics. So I'm just not entirely sure what the colors are as I'm working throughout this video. So I do at a point at the very, very end do a quick morning check-in with it. I literally finished this, shut my sketchbook, went to bed, and the first time I saw it in normal daylight was when I recorded the ending clip. So I'm actually not entirely 100% certain if my colors are accurate throughout the entire process. I'm just fingers crossing that it doesn't look bad. But even if it did, it doesn't matter because I went through the process of sitting down and doing the thing I wanted to do, right? So, I think overall this isn't the like best approach at the kind of colors to this character. I've actually been really struggling to draw Eris as a character with this kind of more paint pen playful style that I've been developing traditionally for a while. They, as a character, it's a lot easier to draw them just in black and white with a red pen or digitally because I feel like I don't quite have a grasp on how I personally want to approach rendering white hair with this style and this approach to colors. Digitally, I know how I like to render white hair, and I have a completely different art style digitally. But when it comes to this colorful and playful coloring scheme that I do with the paint pens and the markers even more recently, I haven't figured out exactly how I want to approach indicating that hair is white. And that was a really struggle throughout a really struggle, huh? A really big struggle throughout this process because I'm trying to think, okay, I want color to define the areas. I generally digitally use purples and blues in the shadows, and then just a little bit of yellow or oranges to indicate where the light is hitting. However, I don't feel like it grasps quite how I want to in this traditional setting stylistically. Every car is going to drive down my road, even though I live in a rural area where no one drives just because I'm doing audio right now. So forgive. I can't make people stop driving. But I've been really struggling to figure it out because just having that having like a single color to separate the sections of white hair isn't enough for me or satisfying. And it's been a challenge for me to figure out. And so overall, I use a lot of colors without any kind of confidence or much forethought throughout the process. And I think the hair is probably not great. I don't hate it, but it does end up looking a little bit more on the kind of questionable side, but I feel the need to preface that Eris is supposed to have white hair with just the singular red streak. Sometimes when I draw their character, I do give red tips to the edge of the hair. I actually haven't cemented if I want that to be a permanent and a official component of their character design. I'm just not sure yet. Um, I just don't know. I really like it, but I'm very torn between the two kind of coloring approaches to the hairstyle, and so I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want the red streak to really stand out and that curve that it follows along their face, how it kind of goes into her right eye, their right eye every time. I want that to be very prominent, and I always worry that if I put too much red at the ends of the hair, it's going to take away from that. And so I'm still 50-50 on that, despite me having had this character now for 2 years-ish, maybe. The first time I actually ever did a fully rendered, completely finished illustration of Eris was for Drawtober last year, the Moth-Bitten Library prompt, and it is to date one of my favorite illustrations I have ever done. It's not monochromatic, but I did multiple different color approaches to it, so there's like 5 or 6 different color versions, and it's all just like 2 tones. So my favorite one is the kind of, it's not a blue-green, but it's definitely more of a mid-tone blue with a bit more of a aqua tinge. It's not a pure blue, I wouldn't say, and then it just has orange around the highlights. Is my favorite of Eris. And so, despite me having had them for so long, I feel like they're my go-to stress character, and because of that, I very rarely draw them when I'm not trying to find creative release and kind of just something quick to do. And thus, I have thought about their design the least of all of my characters. And so, it's definitely been a very, very interesting process to slowly figure out the design of this character more and more over the last, basically a year since I did their first full illustration now. So it's been very interesting to still not have a solid answer on how I even want to render them as a character. But I just find that the lilac and the light purples, well, I really like purple in white hair. I think it creates a very, very nice shadow, and it feels generally appropriate. It's very soft. It gives that fluffy feeling that I'm looking for. It's not enough with how I like to do this style of art to keep up not artistically, but stylistically. The hair feels left out if I don't continue to add more and more to it, and it's just been a bit of a challenge. And so if there's anybody who utilizes a similar style and has any ways that they personally draw white hair that they think might be helpful, I'd be very interested. I'm still exploring it, and I'm not entirely sure the best way to approach practicing it other than drawing Eris 50,000 times. And as much as I love them, I don't really want to just to render hair. Rendering hair is probably my least favorite part of digital and colored traditional. I only like rendering hair. I only love to render hair in ink. I don't mind otherwise, so it's not that bad, but I really just haven't gotten the technique down yet. It feels weird to say, but like it's definitely something that is going to become a technique, something that it's gonna become intuitive once I figure it out, but I'm just not quite there yet. And so this was kind of also a test to see just how colorful I can go before it feels a little bit too much. Does it ever get too much? And one thing that I'm really interested in pursuing and figuring out at some point is, can you do white hair while leaving almost no white? If I put enough crazy, kooky, funky colors down, will I get to a point where it's so clearly not any one color that the absence of color is implied. That sounds very philosophical and not at all how I intended it to, but that's something I really want to play with and figure out, and so I'm gonna do another drawing of Eris a bit smaller, just a headshot, and go for it. Sometimes, yeah, I think I think soon, because the next topic is Drawtober and what I'm planning to do for Drawtober. If you follow me and you see my community post, you'll know that I briefly discussed Drawtober and a little bit of what I have planned, but I am kind of dead set on a few specific characters and things for a couple of themes. And so I really want to know what you guys think, if there's anything in particular that you want to see, and discuss a couple of other ideas I'm having for a more Inktober approach. So I have ideas and I want opinions, and I would really like to know what you guys want to see in October. I know is like weeks away, but I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited. And this is going to be my second Drawtober on my channel, and I feel like I know what I'm doing on YouTube a bit better now. And so I'm just really excited to get to share all of the fun that comes with the seasonal spook. I love October. I love Halloween. It's a very fun time of the year for me. And I'm just excited to share it with you guys, especially now that there's more of you here in my corner. I'm looking forward to it. So let's discuss the ideas. Okay, so this year's Drawtober was announced on September 1st, and this year's theme is Monster Mash, and I'm so excited. So the prompts are vampire, shapeshifter, witch, undead, ghost, and monster. And so I have quite a few OCs and favorite fictional characters that I think are going to be really well suited this year. So for vampire, I'm really torn currently as it stands. I feel like since I've played Baldur's Gate or am playing Baldur's Gate, I really should jump on the Asterion fan art train, especially because one of my favorite artist slash art reference creators, Res References, does a lot of Asterion cosplays for the sake of artist to draw, and I have been wanting to draw her cosplay for a really long time. She did it so well, and so I'm really torn between Asterion fan art or Alucard fan art, because I have gotten in the habit of watching and rewatching Hellsing Ultimate when I'm working on large scale projects and there's nothing I feel like watching on YouTube. I put on Hellsing Ultimate, the English version, and I just let that play. It's so campy in a weird way that my brain just shuts off. I don't know what it is, but it's the perfect awful background noise for creating. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just how I work. So I'm torn between Asterion and Alucard. I do not have any vampire OCs. That is kind of surprising, but I don't. So, Shapeshifter, I do have my OC Loki, who is completely based off of Loki from Norse mythology, who is canonically a shapeshifter. So I am thinking about doing a kind of a non-binary to feminine or masculine form of my Loki character. They generally present more masculine, so I'm thinking of doing the masculine and feminine design of the character if they want to lean either way. I think that would be really fun, especially because I've never drawn my OC Loki in a feminine form. So I think it'd be kind of fun to explore how I think my OC version of Loki would approach femininity in the modern times, right? Because that's where my characters exist, modern times. And yeah, I think it could be really fun, especially because I have a whole anthology of clothing set aside that I think would perfectly fit Loki as a character and how I've kind of approached their personality, their presentation, their kind of story up until now, kind of like where Norse mythology ends and kind of skipping Ragnarok's existence, right? Skipping Ragnarok as a concept just to now, right? Where mythology kind of stops talking about them to now. I have a lot of ideas on the lived experiences they've had, kind of being able to exist in the Nine Realms. I'm really excited about that, especially because they exist in a universe where all the gods exist, right? And they just kind of handle different domains. My cat just fell off my desk. He's fine, but that was that sound. However, I also have been wanting to do Jekyll and Hyde fan art, and I don't really know about canonical to the book. I'm not sure about that. So I'm thinking maybe it would be fun to do how I perceive Jekyll and Hyde. I'm a huge fan of the musical soundtrack, particularly the I believe it's 1996 one. It's the one with the black album cover and like the fake broken glass with um I believe the person who plays Jekyll and Hyde is Australian. I'm not helping you figure it out, but I like that version particularly of the musical. And I also have cats named Jekyll and Hyde. So I'm kind of thinking it would be fun to kind of personify my cats Jekyll and Hyde as the opposite personalities, the opposite people, right? Jekyll and Hyde are two different people within the same body. And I think it'd be really fun to personify my cats. My question and concern is I can't draw cats. So I'm not sure how that'll turn out, but I think it could be really, really fun. And I think it could be really fun. And also, my cat Jekyll definitely, if he was human, would be a grumpy British man that hates to leave the house. Like 100% his personality, no questions asked, right? It would just work so well. And then for Witch, Eris on screen, the character I'm drawing, is a witch, kind of. So they are the reincarnate of the Greek god of chaos, Eris, right? They are kind of that power, that personality, that existence incarnate. And so I think it could be really fun to do Eris in a proper witch fit getup. It's so not them that I think it would be adorable. I just really want to draw Eris again. My favorite piece from the previous Drawtober, as I've mentioned, is my fan art, not fan art, it's my own character, is my illustration of Eris for the Moth-Bitten Library prompt. So I do want to bring them back and do something fun. And I want to do it the same way and in a similar rendering style. So I want to do the drawing on paper, ink it on paper, and then make it digital and do a very simple 2 to 3 color drawing. Very, very simplistic would be the way to approach it. Then Undead, so I'm also 50-50 on this one. My original character, Nameless, is undead. They are a zombie. They are kind of being forced to relive existence and things like that. However, I also have my plant zombie characters, my disability plant zombies. And so I'm also kind of interested in maybe doing a kind of illustration of the kind of reviving process, like a very classic stereotypical zombie digging itself out of the earth kind of thing. I think it could be a very, very fun thing to do. I know it's super morbid because these are people reanimated by parasitic plants, but hear me out. Plants also grow from the dirt. So it could be very, very fun to do like a drawing of the plants coming up and then just the single hand trying to get its way out. It's very morbid, but I feel like it could be very campy and thematically on point. So I'm torn between Nameless and plant zombie fan art. Ghost, I only really have one idea, and I have been wanting to do an illustration of Vivian and his deceased wife. I did a drawing of them last year, so I'm really staying on point this year. I've been really wanting to draw them kind of parting ways. Like, I know I have like the theme from last year where they do the dance with the dead, that she gets to revisit him in life and reminisce once a year. I want to do the moment that he realized that he had failed in his mission to cure her of her illness, and that he had cursed himself with a eternal life without her and has to say goodbye, right? I want to capture that moment and do an illustration that really solidifies that moment for him as a character. One thing I've been really wanting to do is take all of these figure points, character-wise, the really important moments where my characters' lives are completely changed, things that are fundamental and crucial to their character development, and finalize it as an illustration because I feel like I have all of these ideas and thoughts that I constantly talk about. I talk about the universe that they live in, how they exist, how they interact with each other, but I don't have illustrations to show you guys how I perceive those moments and how it's happening in my head. And what better way to do it than to force myself to visualize it for Drawtober? My only concern is drawing ghosts sounds really hard traditionally, but I also don't know how I want to approach it digitally, so I'm not sure what medium I'm going to go in. Monster? I am really torn. So Frankenstein's monster looks very different in the animated show to how the book describes the monster looking. So, the monster is described as kind of hot, which is so funny to me. Frankenstein discusses how he, in the process of designing his monster, perfectly picked every body part to create the perfect entity. And really, the worst components about Frankenstein's monster as like attractiveness is that he's jaundiced and very clearly looks like he is dead. Not full of life, right? And so I'm kind of interested in rereading Frankenstein and then drawing how I perceive the monster to look. Equally so, I don't know if I want to reread Frankenstein right now to be prepared for October. Equally so, there is also a Frankenstein's monster theme in the Howl's Moving Castle book that is questionable. So in the book, the Witch of the Waste is trying to create her perfect man through homicide, and Frankenstein's monster basically curating the perfect man through perfect body part acquisition. And Heen, the dog, is the soul of one of said men. The book is very different, very morbid to the Ghibli movie, like very different vibes, and I love it. But if I remember correctly, the Witch of the Waste is seeking out Howl's head for the body. She might be looking for his heart. I don't remember, but I really feel like it wasn't his heart, it was his head, because he's like notorious for the pretty boy face in the book, and he also he carries around a guitar that he can't play to impress the ladies, which is just, the book is just so different. And I'm kind of interested in doing some Howl's Moving Castle fan art themed around the book, or maybe doing a book versus the movie juxtaposition, kind of just very different themes. Then thirdly, I am thinking about doing a, like, design your monster based off of you as a person, so, you know, those little, like, tap to hold trends on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. I don't have TikTok, but I assume it's over there too, where based on, like, your birth month, you do certain components, and designing one of those characters, just a little monster character based on me, who I am, and do it as a kind of, like, get to know me sort of thing, because I feel like I talk a lot about myself, my life, my lived experiences, and how that influences my art, but nothing about those kind of more mundane and little things, and it would be kind of like a meet the artist, because I don't think I've actually ever done one of those, really. While I exist very openly about who I am and kind of how it got me to this point artistically, how I made the decisions I made, why I make the art I make, and how so many aspects of the life I've lived, the people I've met, the experiences, all of that influence my characters, how representation influences my characters, how I kind of choose the characters that I bring into the world, such as my Greek characters and my Norse characters, so Hypnos, Thanatos, and then Loki, are based around representation and exploring ideas of femininity, masculinity, life and death, chronic fatigue syndrome, right? These things. And so I feel like there's a lot of me in my art, but not those kind of mundane small talk sort of things. And it could be fun. I don't know. I'm not sure if it'll look good. But I was thinking about that as well. So, two very well, thoroughly thought out ideas based around books, which is very me, or a internet trend, which is probably not very me, because I am very out of the loop with internet trends, and I've been seeing this thing around for like a year now, so I'm very, very late to the party. But I think that's it for Drawtober in terms of like my ideas for the Drawtober prompts, those 6 prompts. I am still thinking about doing a ink-based mini doodle series around cats and birth months and things like that, or like zodiac signs. I mentioned I'm not a zodiac person. I don't really know anything about it, but it could be really, really fun. And I want to do little cat doodles as a way to teach myself how to draw cats. So that's another thing I'm thinking about doing in October, depending on how alive I am and how functional I am with the 6 drawings. I do want to also do that. So I would really love to know if you guys have any thoughts about the topics, the themes that you want to see. Do you want to see any of the things that I've suggested? Should I go balls to the walls and just completely design 6 characters out of nowhere? If I do design a character for the undead, I definitely already have ideas. But yeah, I really want to know what you guys want to see, because Drawtober is just such a fun time of the year for me. I really have no restraints in terms of like how creative I get. Like, worst comes to worst, Drawtober goes a little bit into the next month, or I finish the drawings a little over time. It's about the fun, it's about the themes, it's about getting creative and pushing my boundaries a little bit. Because art is something that just kind of happens to me. I draw and I don't really think about it. And I think about it after the fact, right? I process the information that I wasn't while I was drawing later. You know, a lot of the times I have to think, why did I do this thing in the moment? A lot of the time I'm not actually thinking about it. It happens, and then I look back on how kind of my intuition, that's such the wrong word, but how kind of my experience led me to make the decisions I made in the exact moment, right? And so it's very rare that I actually do something surrounding a prompt, surrounding an idea, and I execute the idea, right? Usually I go haywire, and partway through I'm on a different planet mentally to what the original goal was, and I create something entirely different. So it's very, very out of my comfort zone to stick to a theme and a prompt like this, and it's something that I'm really, really excited to do again, and I really want you guys to enjoy it as well. Obviously I'm gonna do it anyway, so if you guys don't want to see Drawtober at all, let me know. I don't mind, I'm not offended. I'll probably still show the finished drawings on other videos and stuff like that, but yeah, let me know. What do you guys think about my ideas? I'm super excited. Do you guys want to see birthday month themed cats? I'm also thinking about doing birthday month themed clowns. Because I have been wanting to practice drawing clowns so I can do a little clown OC for no reason other than the fact that I think it would be cute. A mushroom themed cloud OC. Wait, maybe clowns is the goal. I kind of want to do plant-themed clowns now. But, yeah, let me know what you think. Per usual, I really value your guys' opinion and what you guys are excited about. Are you guys doing Drawtober? I know it's September. The spooky vibes are maybe not here for you all. But it's exactly what I want to spend the rest of my life doing is Drawtober spooky stuff. Like I'm gonna do it every year. So let me know, are you joining? Are you participating? Are you interested in any of the prompts? Are you gonna do one drawing? I've seen a few people do last year do like multiple prompts in one drawing, and that was super wild. It produced some great work. The Drawtober community is super wonderful. I highly recommend it to people who want a friendly art community. It is a bit seasonal. I don't think people really actually engage in the community outside of September to mid-November, but it's a very comfortable and friendly, supportive art community seasonally, a seasonal community. Really, like, every skill level is welcome. The hosts have absolutely wonderful work. I love to see it. I love to see them in the chat. They're great. Um, it's really kind of my first time. Last year was my first time getting a real taste of what a super supportive art community is like, what a super lovely group of artists that are just here to have fun is like. And so I think if you are looking for that type of interaction, that type of art community in your life, Drawtober is probably the place to get the first taste of it. I know art communities can be very 50-50. They can get toxic really quickly. Some environments can get very heavily focused on self-promotion and not support and not friendliness and stuff like that. So Drawtober is one of the communities I found that really just, while people are promoting the art that they make during Drawtober, it's not like, say, the Ko-fi art community where it's all about look at my work and support me on Ko-fi. It's not like some YouTube art communities like Discords where it can get a little bit strange. It's not well moderated because it's just one YouTuber in Discord. People, I'm sorry, I'm not very Discord familiar. I've been in communities for YouTube artists I really love where it's not their fault necessarily, but the community can get out of hand, and I found Drawtober to be generally better than most that I've run into. So I do highly recommend it for people who want that type of connection on Discord. It is really unfortunate that it's a bit more of a seasonal community, but I really, really love it. Clearly, because I just talked about Drawtober for like almost 21 minutes or something like that. Back to Eris and her character design now that I've talked about Drawtober for way too long. There is a revelation I had about them as a character last night while I was working on this that made me realize that maybe I don't think as much as I need to, and that I should probably consider using my brain a little bit more when I create. But so those big blue things coming out from underneath Eris's hair are their ears. Like those are ears. They are attached. They are a part of the body. They cannot be removed. I don't think I've ever thought about what color those are supposed to be. I change them every time based on the theme and the color palette of the drawing. And I'm realizing now that those probably should be the color of Eris's hair and not change from drawing to drawing. And even if they do change from drawing to drawing, can you dye your ears if you have like floppy rabbit ears? Is that something you can do? Is that safe? Does that hurt your hearing? How high up can you go? Is there a cutoff point where under the hair it's the natural color? I have a lot of questions about my own character, and I don't know that I know. I know I don't know the answers right now, but I don't know that I have the capacity to answer my own questions. Like I've never thought about it because I designed them in black and white originally with the red pen for the streak, right? And so I never originally thought about their character color palette, right? What colors are representative of them? And the colors just kind of came naturally. Being a bit more pastel-y just because of my traditional style, but darker digitally, I never really kind of thought about the fact that their ears should be the same color as their hair. And I'm now a little bit confused and concerned And maybe I should just give Eris blue hair. No, blue hair with a red streak would not. No, never mind. That's a terrible idea. I don't like it. Um, I don't know what to do about this idea and this revelation that I've just had, and it's gonna bug me for a really long time. And this drawing is going to eternally exist to remind me that I don't think. um, I really should think more and think more critically about my OCs when I design them. And I think this is a habit that I developed a long time ago and I'm getting a lot better at. But because she's an old OC like Vivian and Nameless, I went for what felt right in the moment, what I really liked thematically, and didn't completely go against who they are as a character, right? There's nothing in Greek mythology that says that Eris, the goddess of chaos, can't have bunny ears through reincarnating or possessing the body of a bunny-eared person. Like, there's nothing in Greek mythology that says that's an absolute no. So I got to keep it, right? I think a lot harder about my god characters that are still gods, they are still in their own body, and they have not possessed innocent people and turned them into chaos goblins. Like they didn't do that. So Hypnos, Loki, and Thanatos I thought really hard about based on their mythology and how I think they would evolve as time passes, but Eris was open game because they're a possessed body, right? And so yeah, I just had the thought, and I hope that it bothers you as much as it bothers me, because it's not cool. Not cool at all. There was a bad decision on my part. It's something I'm gonna have to work out. I didn't, yeah, this is how you know my voiceovers aren't scripted. Not that you couldn't tell, but I'm absolutely shook by the fact that I'm only realizing this and digesting it now. Like, I thought about it last night, but I'm like digesting just how strange this must be now that I'm like fully conscious and thinking about my life decisions. So that's something I'm gonna have to figure out. I'm not sure what I'll decide, but it'll probably be that they are a similar color. I think a similar color makes sense, not exactly the same color. But I don't have any lore reasons for why Eris has white hair. It's just that it felt right for their character prior to Eris possessing the body, because there's a reason Eris chose Eris, right? I know that sounds funny and it's kind of goofy sounding, but the goddess chose Eris for the reincarnation, the possession, the passing on of life, and that was based on Eris's life prior to who they are now and what life is like now that they are holding the powers and kind of a disciple of the goddess, right? And so it makes sense for that version of Eris, but I never really thought about the ears. I don't think I visualized who they are previous to where they are in my story, right? I've thought about the story, I've thought about the plot points that get us here, but I've never thought, what exactly do they look like and how has their appearance changed with this new consequence of existence, right? And so that's something I am going to work hard to figure out, right? So it's definitely gonna throw me for a whirlwind. Think about your OCs. Think them through. Don't be me. It's life advice, literal life advice. So I'm not super confident in what I'm gonna choose to do, because I really don't want that much white on Eris as a character. I really want their theme to be a bit more macabre. I know that doesn't make sense with my art style, but I want their clothing to lean more dark. I want them to exist in the world more as a neutral color palette. And so having a lot of white doesn't make sense or doesn't really fit how I think that they navigate the world and present themselves. They're definitely not intended to be a particularly bubbly, vibrant, or bright character. Like, they are not the ray of sunshine, the golden retriever character. Actually, none of my characters are. I should make a golden retriever character one day. Just for the sake of exploring how I would dress a happy-go-lucky, vibrant, full-of-life character, right? But aside, they're not meant to be that way. And so while I draw with a lot of color, I render with a lot of color traditionally, if they were to exist in the world, their color palette would lean closer towards neutrality, towards neutrals, earth tones, darker colors. A lot of my characters lean that way. They have their one staple vibrant color that's very them, and then the rest of it translates to a neutral tone, right? So Eris's vibrant pop color is red, Vivian's is a foresty green, and so Nameless's is a kind of bluish purple tone. Sometimes it's lilac, sometimes it's more of a baby blue. It kind of depends on where they are in their character development, because they are the character that has the most developing to go through, because they are the youngest of this immortal crew, and they're kind of processing their immortality, and it's something that they have to work through as a character, right? And so how they present themselves and handle the grief and the process of living through something as terrible as immortality is something that you see throughout their character development, who they are as they change, as time wears them down or will wear them down. And so their colors are going to change a bit as they go through processing those emotions, those feelings, those lived experiences. And for now, it's going from blue to lilac. So that's where they're at. So I don't really know how I want to approach it. Having white airs is not on the menu, but maybe a gray or a super, super gray purple, like a purple gray. You know how you have like warm gray and cool gray? Purple gray. That might work. But it's something that I have to explore. And clearly I should have thought about my character designs more thoroughly before getting to this point where I had to have this revelation, what 11 sketchbooks into my life. Eris hasn't been around that long, but they've been around for, I think, 4 sketchbooks, and not once did I think. It's kind of embarrassing. But that being said, it's not the end of the world, and frankly, I have no issues kind of redesigning them just a teeny bit and kind of solidifying their character. I love Eris. They're a complete comfort character for me, and so to an extent, I am really looking forward to going through the process of having to draw them a load of times to kind of figure out how I want them to exist, right? And I guess it's also kind of a fun part about being an artist and kind of getting older as an artist. Not to say that I'm old, I'm rather young, but starting when I was a preteen to a teenish age to now, I've kind of developed some better like thinking skills, and I've developed my style, my taste as an artist a lot more effectively, and I'm comfortable with where I'm at as an artist. While I have been going through art block and I've been having a hard time finding like the passion to sit down and create recently, I'm confident in myself as an artist because I love what I do, and even if I create work that I hate, I still love that I created the work, right? So I love everything about art, right? Being an artist, doing art, looking at art, right? I'm very happy with that. And so now I have the security to deconstruct my character and actually really sit with it and think about it in a way that I think will benefit Eris as a character. And I think it'll make them a lot more enjoyable for you guys to follow, but it's something that I clearly have to work on. And I don't know, if you guys want to watch me deconstruct Eris, go for it. Let me know in the comments. But otherwise, it's going to be something that definitely happens over many, many sketchbook pages over the course of probably a couple months, because I really like to sit with decisions before I finally make them. I don't like to do anything particularly spur of the moment, like, okay, I'm doing this right now. So, that's why I'm planning my Drawtober, like, at the start of September, and I'm really thinking about it and what I want to finalize my decisions as. So, with all of that being said, if you found anything in this video interesting and you want to talk about it in the comments below, Let me know. Like it if you what? Like it if you dislike it. Like my video if you like it, dislike if you dislike it. Subscribe if you would like to see more of my work. I love to talk and share with you guys. Share what you create with me if you so desire. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and bye-bye.